Joseph, Roxy.
I wanted to make sure we're recording.
Yeah, Joseph, Roxy, Heather, and that's it. We don't have a quorum. And Chris. We've got a quorum, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Great. Okay, so first off, we,
No, we're good. We're good.
we want to approve the minutes from the December 2021 meeting. And also the March agenda and the March meeting minutes. We might as well roll them all together. Are there any corrections or additions to any three of those? And then we'll move to tonight's agenda as a separate item. Did anybody have any questions or corrections, et cetera, to either the December meeting minutes, the March agenda, or the March meeting minutes?
I got none. I'm here.
Okay. So all in favor of approving the December 2021 meeting minutes, the March 22 meeting agenda, and the March 22 meeting minutes. Let's just, I guess, get a raise of hands, and if somebody there can count in the room. We got Chris, yes. Heather, yes. Joseph and Roxy, yes. Any opposition? Okay, passed. Can I get a motion to approve those three separate document items?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Chris. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, and then moving straight up to the agenda for tonight's meeting, which is Wednesday, June 15th, 2022. Did anyone have any additions, corrections, or flipping around of order of items on the agenda for tonight? Andy, you all good with how it's presented?
I am, except I do want to discuss STIF plans for 24 and 25, but let's just call that new grants.
Okay, just roll it into that. Okay, great.
That'll work.
Okay. So can I get a motion to approve the meeting agenda, excuse me, for tonight's meeting?
And email this to Chris and Heather. Oh, or actually, maybe just scan it in for us. And I'll put it on the screen. Sorry, Heather.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at it on my email.
Yeah, me too.
Waiting for a motion. I think that's what she said. Go ahead.
Joseph and Roxy, are you able to see the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Awesome.
I don't know how to do it. Motion. Just say motion or motion. How's that?
Oh, I thought we were waiting for Nancy. Oh, yeah, motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
Great. Thank you, Chris. And we have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Roxy.
Sorry, my volume might need to be.
Yeah, that's much better. You were kind of tunneling in the background there.
And you're at like half, so. All right, now we'll try.
So I'm not loud enough for you?
There you are now. I had to turn
Okay.
that.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm sure Nancy has our current roll call of who's in attendance, both physically and virtually. So Andy, you want to take it to Council Leah? Did we hear anything from Mayor Pulliam regarding attendance tonight?
Yeah, no podium tonight. I mean, I'm assuming we didn't hear.
Okay. So let's, I think, then move on to old business, item 4, and new grants. Take it away, Andy.
I will start with, we put in a grant for an electric bus, a 35-foot Proterra electric bus, and we're successful. So that grant amount, I believe, is $950,000. I don't remember what our match is, but obviously it's around $1 million for that project. So we have entered into a fleet partner program with PGE. We put in an application and we're accepted, which means that they will come out and do an assessment and the planning process and to make our bus barns ready for electric buses and get the infrastructure ready, which will mean laying a new electric line to the bus barns. Basically, the barns themselves are ready, but PGE will, I'm sure during the construction of the barns, we had a conversation about the fact that when we did go electric, they're gonna have to run a new line to the bus barns. Apparently though, through the fleet partner program, most, if not all of those costs will be covered by PGE.
Great.
So, yeah. So we will know more. We have the kickoff meeting for that July 15th. PGE will be here. Any of you who would like to join us are welcome to join us. They will come here for question and answers, walk the site, start developing a plan. They scheduled it for, I believe, 2 hours, but they said it's probably more like 30 minutes. Because it's just more or less of them to be here on site, getting a better understanding of how, you know, we are situated, and then if we have questions going forward. So that'll get started in July.
I believe that start time was 11 a.m. Andy, is that right, on site?
Yes.
July 15th.
11.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Heather won't be able to make it, and so we will try our best to record it for those who would like to see how it goes but can't make it. So anyway, that gets kicked off in July. I was nervous because all of our buses, as you guys know, are pretty much new. And so the one bus that we can recognize as, you know, potentially being ready for replacement in 2 years will really have to be used a lot. It's got about 160,000 miles we need to put on it in 2 years. So I made the case that it could definitely be done, and evidently they believed me. And so we were awarded it. Now, I was sweating it a little bit, but I have found out that due to the shortages, the supply chain, and everything else in our environment currently, that the new grants are not going to be for 2 years, they're going to be for 3. So that's quite a relief. We won't have to, you know, have that bus have those 160,000 miles in 2 years. It could be 3. So that's good. And with PGE coming in July, we'll be more than ready in 3 years to put electric buses. We did also apply for a federal grant. Muna did a lot of the heavy lifting. Thank you, Muna. And when I say a federal grant, I mean, this particular funding is the Low-No grant, and it went directly to the feds. So the state isn't selecting on behalf of federal funds. It went directly to the feds. I don't have high hopes. I've never had high hopes that when we apply to the feds that we get the funding, because in those larger grant programs, typically it's not rural agencies and it's not smaller projects. So I also at the CTAA conference was told by Jeff Hazen in Astoria that he believed the feds changed it to where you have to at least apply for 6 buses to get those funds. We applied for 2. I haven't looked to verify if that's true or not. I didn't read anything in the guidance when we applied that was true. Proterra partnered with us on those grants. They were not aware, so I'm not sure if that's a rumor or not. Again, who knows if we'll get it? I don't expect it, but we're certainly going to try.
Hey, question, excuse me, Andy, question?
Yeah.
So on that grant and then the partnership with PGE, does the grant cover any expenses for conversions and other costs that we might have that PGE will not cover?
No.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I said in the grant that if they awarded us the funding, I'm sorry, that's not true. It will cover the charging stations to come with the bus.
Okay.
But I said in the grant that if awarded, the city of Sandy would cover the cost of getting our infrastructure ready for electric buses. Oh, great. Okay. Bernice is here, Harriet says. So we will, Muna, can you, thank you. She's on her way. Okay, so, however, with our partnership with PGE, I really expect our costs to be fairly low, actually. So the charging equipment will be included. We got some spare parts, but other than that, that is the cost of getting our first Proterra bus.
Okay. All right. So there shouldn't be any other costs other than the charging station, which PGE should cover, and then, they're covered in the grant, and then the new, running the new electrical, which PGE will cover.
Yep.
Great.
That's,
Okay, thank you.
that's what I'm hoping. So,
Okay.
So that's good news. We're on our way to electric buses. I wish that we could move a little faster. There's a lot of money out there and I want to grab it, but we also happen to be in the very fortunate position of having new buses. So we don't really need to replace them for a couple of years. Hi, Bernice.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome. We're doing well. That's okay. That's on us.
Hi, Bernice.
You can sit right here.
Do you
Sure
mind?
can.
Yeah.
No,
Thanks.
join us.
I have my new hearing aids, but still.
Come sit with me. So another grant that we applied for and were successful. You guys are aware that in our STIF plan, we have been putting funds aside to add more space here at the operations center. What we really need is, or what I envision is to build a second building behind this building and move operations into that building, meaning the drivers and dispatch, et cetera, would move into their own building and they would have their own training room, training as in, training for CDLs and training for driving. I have to clarify that because originally another agency heard me say a training room and they pictured like I'm putting a gym in or something. That's absolutely not what I'm doing. Isn't that funny? Yeah,
That's pretty funny.
and they were like, did you know she's planning on putting out like a workout room in the facility? And I'm like, yeah, that's not what I'm doing. So
Yeah, the club's only less than a mile away. We don't need that.
Right, right. So anyway, and so I'm gonna share what I had Nancy go scan, and you guys have it on here. And this goes for a new grant, and it also will roll us into the conversation that I want to have about STIF. And if anybody needs a reminder about what STIF is, just let me know.
I can be used different ways. So I don't know which way
Thank
it's gonna
you.
be.
Okay. So if I download this and then go here and tell it I want to share my screen. Okay, Chris and Heather, can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. Okay. I wish that I could point, can you see my cursor moving?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So what this is this is the master plan for the operations center. This is the parking lot where you pull in. This is the building we currently are in, right? The plan, as you see, this is our bus barn that was built when this was built. So these that are shaded a little heavily, they were built in phase 1. So this building was built, this bus bay, this, these 2 bays over here that are PW. And then, as you know, this is our wash bay. So we just completed this bus barn and this bus barn, which was part of phase 2. I have been saving money to find a way, and I haven't been specific because we might have to get creative, but to find a way to give us more space. And one thing that we might want to do until we have enough funding, there is in our building here an archive room that the city has been in the past willing to get their stuff out of it. We could punch a window into it and make it offices until we have more funding. So that conversation is being had. I think we actually, even through our original STIF plan, have enough to do that now. As you know, Muna's office used to be the conference room, and it was a tiny conference room. It's a terrible conference room. But it would be good if we could move Muna onto this side of the building and give that to PW. And it'd be great if we had a conference room maybe up there. But we may also move dispatch up there. I don't know, but that's what we might do before. What I just got funding for is the planning, including A&E, which is architectural and engineering services. This is supposed to be a second building that looks exactly like this building. And it's supposed to be in that grass. So that's why that grass is there. What we would like to do is, as I already said, take all of the operations, not just transit, but PW's crew, possibly Sandy Net's crew, parks and facilities are in this building, and move all of that out here where they have, you know, room to talk and be loud and have their lunch breaks and have a kitchen area, have a separate room that is for, you know, classroom training, etc. Because right now they're stuck in this administration building, right? And it's a nice building, but they're eating lunch outside my office. And right now, while we're having this meeting, they're eating their dinner somewhere else in the building. So we've grown enough that it's been recognized not only in the transit master plan that we all did in April of 2020, but it was also recognized in the facilities maintenance plan that the city as a whole did, that there's not enough room down here. There's especially not enough restrooms down here for the crews that we have in here. So I've got a grant for the planning of that, and at the same time, so that we can save money, we're gonna plan this. This is planned to be a maintenance bay. So currently we do really light stuff in this first bay of this, but not a lot. This would allow us to have our own in-house mechanic. It could be a citywide asset that we, shared with other departments, PW, etc. If you guys remember, Independent Diesel didn't work with us for about a year. They got in a little argument with the city over some storage containers on their property, and they stopped doing business with the city. That really hurt us. They are our local mechanic. They're fast, they're good. And we had a mobile mechanic coming in from Portland in the meantime, because that was our only option, and it was super expensive. So, so we begged.
Are we back on track with them now?
We are. I called Pat, said, can you please make an exception? And he did. He said, I've always enjoyed working with you guys, and so you guys I will work with. But that being said, if he ever leaves town, which he says he's gonna do, then we're back without a mechanic. So for sustainability, it's important that we get that maintenance bay up and running. Also, if we're gonna have electric vehicles and we're gonna train mechanics on how to work on electric buses, we should probably employ them ourselves so that we can make sure that we, they're continued to get the proper training that our vehicles need. So we have a grant. It's somewhere, it's not quite 200,000. I think it's 190,000 is the grant amount. And that will be for the planning of both the maintenance bay and the building behind us. So obviously the building behind us, the building we're in now was $9 million in 2000. Well, 1999. 8 million in 1999. So you can, and I say 8 million, that includes our bays outside too, right? So it includes the wash bay and this bay, this bay, this bay, parking lots. Just so you guys are all aware, this is actually the property that the city owns. It's 8 acres. This 5 acres in here is what we have developed. And all of you, see this. This over here is also the city's, and it's currently just grass. So at some point, there's some conversation about maybe Sandy Net needs to move down here and develop this. And then we would also obviously have more room for buses, which we're gonna need because we have Mounted Express growing, we're growing, and if we do enter into the electric world, we're gonna need 2 electric for every 1 diesel because of the rent. So we're gonna have to double our fleet size. Yeah. So there is a council member currently, city council, who wants to make sure that this is not a transit only project. Because transit got the funds to do this, they're under the impression that transit keeps growing. I mean, we did just build 2 barns, and now, we're planning this area, and they want to be sure that this property has room for public works, which is also, as you know, growing. We're building a new wastewater facility. We're probably going to have to, at some point, stop contracting. The sewer plant workers are all contracted. They'll probably need to pull that in-house. So it may become a hot topic. It may not. As far as I'm concerned, we're all team players at the operations center. I'm going into this knowing that building is for all of us, not just for transit. But that also means that we got to play along together, because I can't use transit money to build something that other departments are occupying.
Right. And
So,
it's not like we're applying for these grants just because they're out there. I mean, we have need. We need these, the extra building, we need that maintenance bay, et cetera. It's.
yeah, you're right. Well, and what both Jordan and I have reminded people of is this is a master plan. Transit has a master plan. We have a facilities plan. We're not making this stuff up, right? We're following, I've listed it in every city council go for the past 2 sessions. I've said I am going to build those buildings, or try to build those buildings. So just be aware that that conversation is starting to happen, and that it might become a city council, might want to get involved more than, typically they are like, transit, you're awesome, go do it. You do you, but they might want to have a little more conversation about this in the future. So with that, I'm going to switch us to STIF funding. Let's see. That is not a very good view, is it? Let's see. I can bring that down a little bit. I'm going to stop sharing because it won't let me. And you're going to have to just see my corner of my hair and shoulder for a minute. Let's see. I believe there it is. Okay. Won't let me do a thing. And I'm, oh. Can I, boy, size. Restore. Ah, okay. Didn't help us much, but boy. All right, so I'm going to try to share this with you now. It is time to talk about our STIF funded projects. What time is it? 6. So we're still at 1. Okay. So as you know, our STIF funded projects have to be vetted to the public, which you guys are my public. And then they go into TriMet's plan. And then TriMet takes their plan and our plan and does their public process. And so it's a very long, convoluted process. Hey, Jeremy. So we are already planning our STIF plan for 24-25 so that we can get it to TriMet in time for them to then, be able to do their process. And then ODOT expects these, I believe, by January. So, so we are trying to wrap up our STIF by the end of July, which means I also will probably not have it because we don't have a council meeting in July, but I'm probably looking at August. So Sandy is actually, just to remind you guys, if it's not in your STIF plan, you can't use it. So if in our, so currently Our STIF plan, we've been told in 2024, they expect that we'll get $144,000 to the city of Sandy. If I put in my projects at $144,000, but the STIF money comes in at 155, I can't spend 155 until my next plan 2 years later. It's gonna have to sit there. So what we've always done in the past is we take that 144 and we add 30%, because there's no reason to not have money. If it's coming to you, you want to be able to grab it.
Right.
So this document, I've gone in and I've laid out our cost, and I've done it at 130. It's not going to let me move. Let's see. The bottom.
Over one. No, to the left. There.
Can't do that either.
Okay.
There it goes. There it goes. So, so this amount here, this is what I carried over from our first STIF plan for that capacity planning project, which is what we just talked about. So I have $99,000 to either punch a window there to give us more room now or continue to sit on it. Originally, I said that that money was also for planning, but I've gotten a different grant for planning now. So in 24, 25, I will change the wording to say construction and not planning and construction. But this is what we carried over in the first plan, and we won't carry anywhere near this in the second plan because we only put like $15,000 earmarked. The reason is we had all these other projects. So if you remember, we added one run to Sam Gresham at night. We added one run to Estacada. Come on. And we added 2 runs to the Shopper Shuttle. Estacada is Monday through Saturday. Everything else is Monday through Friday. I'm going to stop trying to do this. This 380. Go
Quick
ahead.
question, Andy.
Yep.
On the carryover funds, I don't know, where do those sit, and do we make interest on that, or is that held by TriMet?
Those sit with us. So these funds are given to us by TriMet every quarter, and we have to record all of the interest. So what you see is actually what we were given by TriMet and the interest earned by those funds, and we have to report that to the state.
Okay,
So
thank you.
they sit with us and the interest accrues.
Great.
Good question. It's complicated, to be honest, and very.
I figure.
There we go. So this is at 30, this is at that 130% that I mentioned, because I don't want to guess low. And this is what I guessed we would want to spend our money on. And actually, I didn't guess it. It's based on our master plan and what our public said they wanted, right? So we will continue to support the extra run on Sam Gresham. We'll continue to fund the extra run on Sam Estacada. We'll continue to fund the extra run on the Shopper Shuttle. That's 2 extra runs, sorry. And then what I'd like to do, and what the public said they wanted the most from us, is to add, during our master plan, is to add Saturday Shopper Shuttle. So, and that would be at 5 runs a day, every Saturday.
Wow.
We still have a little bit to play with. This $40,000 we set aside for administration costs, and primarily that goes to our STIF audit. So STIF funds themselves are audited separately all by themselves. It's a whole lot of fun. I'm lying about that. But so we set aside funding to cover, and then also I'm expecting with the beginning of the shopper shuttle on Saturday, we're gonna wanna do a lot of outreach to the public and a lot of information push. And so I've added 20,000 a year for audit and to push out information, develop flyers, you know, administrative. It has to be STIF related, of course. So anything that we do administratively for STIF programs, we'll pay for with that 20,000 a year. And then that leaves us at about 31.4 for the project that we just talked about. Wait, right? Nope, sorry, I'm lying. When COVID hit, so STIF was always meant for new and expanded service, but when COVID hit, the legislators gave us a flexibility through Senate Bill 106 to be able to cover service if we were going to lose it because we didn't have funding. So they didn't want to, on one hand, we had money to start something new, and on the other hand, you're cutting something because you have no money. So we did in our last STIF program, and I have in here a little bit for, you know, in case, for example, right now we are not receiving FLAP funds because that process was pushed back. So we can use this to cover FLAP funded service until the FLAP funds come through. Or if we had COVID again and we go fareless again, we can use this to fill that gap. So I just stuck 31.4 in there because why not? And then that left us with 37,298 to throw at this. So if you guys think it's more important to throw more money at construction, let me know. I can tell you personally, the reason I may even make an argument to bring that construction lower is with the millions of dollars it's going to take to build those projects. This is not going to get us very far, very fast. So this is probably more at this point of a match for a different grant somewhere else. And for me, preserving our existing service is priority number one. And costs are so high right now, we need all the funding we can get. So we, in the last round, only put 15,000 in this pot because we wanted to keep our service, and then we had some other things that we did.
I don't know, it's relevant enough, but with all this inflation, and today the interest rate went up 3/4, I think it was like. How has that affected? Is your money secure now for the future? How is it going to affect you?
Great question. Our money is very secure. So we don't operate on loans. We don't borrow. The federal government is not suddenly drying up. They're actually trying to put out as much as they can to keep us all going. So other than not having enough to cover, I mean, our contracting price went up 23% in 1 year. 1 year. And as you guys know, it had already gone up like 40% from when we had Rojoy. So we're seeing some we also, part of the contracting, part of the reason it went up so high is we just gave the drivers a pretty good boost in pay, and they deserve it. So that is also partially the reason that our contracting rate just went so high. But yeah, everything's high if you can get it. So yeah, this preserving service becomes really important if our economic environment continues like this. I think that's probably more important than worrying about a capital project when the federal government is putting out a lot of money for capital projects.
Thank you.
So Andy, I agree with that. I think maybe moving 20 of that to the preserve and then leaving the rest of it for the construction piece.
Yep, that's smart.
I mean, that way it looks like we're still trying to grow what we can give as a match to construction because it's higher than the 15. But we're still putting the biggest chunk on the preserve, like you were saying.
Okay. I like that idea. I think that we did have about 58,000 in this one last year because I knew FLAP was going to be at least 1 year behind, and we get about 55, 56,000 of FLAP a year. So that's a good idea. Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts along those lines?
The other question I have too is, are they still trying to merge the STIF into the STF?
It's
Okay,
merged.
I kind of figured it did, but
Yeah. So Joseph is very aware that STIF and STF funds just merged. And this year is going to be a real headache, because the timelines of when all of this is due are different, but they're now the same. So STF is now referred to as STIF, and we roll STF into our STIF plan. So you're right, when this goes in front of City Council, what you'll see from the City of Sandy added at the bottom is elderly and disabled funding at whatever amount I'm putting into my plan. Yeah. And then 5310 is later. And so we'll have to go back and fix STF in our plans later if we end up, as you know, moving those funds all around like we always do to make everybody.
I'm trying to explain that to people.
Yeah. And Glenn has chosen not to be on the committee anymore, and which broke my heart because I think he's so valuable. But
He's retiring most of his advocacy.
yeah. But does everybody feel good about these numbers and the routes that we've chosen to support?
Yes, and I didn't catch Bernice's question. I couldn't hear it, so I don't know if that's something I need to know. And then also Joseph's comment regarding the line, the 31.4 and the 37.298. I'm with you totally, Andy, on preserving service. And would it be prudent to move some of that money for the capacity planning and construction into the 31.4 category, or is that possible, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was what Joseph suggested. He suggested we move
Okay.
20,000 to preserve service, which can be used in a variety of ways. So it's smart. I mean, if we needed to, we could move it back into a capital project, I'm sure.
Great.
So, but it's really hard if you've set money aside. I'll also add, in the STIF, you can move funds around if one is underspent and one's overspent, but not if they are capital versus operations.
Right.
So if I say it's capital, it'll stay capital funding. It's probably not as hard to say, I don't need the operations, but I need the capital. But it's difficult if you're trying to change the color of the money, so to speak. So it's probably a good idea to put it in operations and call it good. We get the least of all of our groups. 98% of STIF goes to TriMet. The other 2% goes heavily to Clackamas County and Wilsonville, and we're dead last in how much we receive. So It's, yeah, it's not a lot of money for us, actually. And it is a lot of headache, so.
I was gonna say, what the trade-off for the amount of money we get and how much admin it takes to get that money is just such a poor ratio.
Yeah, so we've been working with TriMet and ODOT for many years now, but for the past year, it's, we entered mediation actually, and I say we as Clackamas County providers and Columbia County, and TriMet to try and find ways to streamline this process. The legislators put in a lot of oversight in the bill. And we're trying to get to the best way to have that happen. And we finally all came to an agreement recently. So
Whew,
yeah,
excellent news.
it's great news because the city of Sandy has not signed our IGA, so we actually haven't been getting our STIF funding for a year now. And now we all agree and we're gonna get that funding, and it's retro. And we're continuing to work with ODOT and TriMet TriMet in their defense has a lot on their plate that they have to oversee of us. And it's not exactly fair for them either. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
That's really good news.
All right. Okay, so that's great. I think that we're all on the same page. I'll move 20,000 into operations from planning and from what I will rephrase as construction. And I think that then we'll be good. Like I said, there's not a lot, so we're kind of limited on what we can do with it.
Do we need to do a vote on that, Andy?
Yeah, you know what, for good measure, the only thing that worries me about voting on it now, but we won't meet again.
September.
Yeah, it'll be September and I will have already handed it off to TriMet.
Okay.
I've gone in front of council, so let's go ahead and vote on it. But if we could make a motion that's vague, such as we support the
Reallocation.
I'm trying to get away from being specific about funding. I mean, you can add that 20,000, but the reason I'm being vague about the money is this is a projection we've been given from ODOT, but they're supposed to, by late summer, give us a better, more recent projection. And so if I change these numbers,
Got it.
but you guys have voted on it.
Yep, yep.
So if you could say you believe that, I make a motion that staff move forward with these prioritized projects. With the exception of moving more funds into the preservation program. That gives me the ability to, if a projection comes in different, I can at least change the numbers, but you all have supported the plan. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I was just making sure you were recording.
Oh, I made sure. Thank you, though.
All right, I'll do it. So we will, I will make the motion that we support the STIF plan. And I don't know, do I need to add anything else? I don't think so. I think that we support the STIF plan with the ideas and the concepts that are on it as is. I mean,
And as we've discussed, maybe?
yeah, as discussed. There we go. That's a good way to work.
Yeah, there we go.
I like that one. So yeah, motion to support the STIF plan as discussed.
I'll second the motion. And any objection? That looks like no, so that is an approved motion.
Great, thank you. All right, so just so you guys are aware, the county group and Joseph and Roxy are part of it. We will take this to the county advisory committee as well, and they will vote on it, and then we'll hand it to, well, and then we'll go in front of city council. Actually, it'll be the other way around. We'll go in front of, yeah, then we'll go in front of city council, and then we'll hand it off to TriMet.
Great.
Woo. Okay, so those are my new grants, I think. Did I forget a new grant? I don't think I did. Okay. Those are my new grants. Moving a bus stop. I guess you guys probably saw that our bus stop got annihilated recently, by the way. No one was in it, luckily, because they would have been in big trouble. We will get that replaced eventually. I'm assuming this is about moving. Oh, okay. So the Strauss stop is currently getting new ADA ramps, and therefore it is not being used. So we moved that bus stop to after the intersection, which is in front of what used to be Tires. What is it now?
Yeah, we ended up just closing the stop for now, but that,
Okay.
because it was in front of the driveway and we needed to, yeah.
But during that conversation, we all are in agreement to permanently move the bus stop that is in front of Beer Den, right? Beer Den there at Strauss to after the intersection. First of all, I am a proponent of having buses stop after an intersection and not before. I believe it's safer. It's easier for the buses to get back into traffic. So I'm also moving the one at Safeway, but you guys know that, down to after the intersection. But the bus drivers were all like, yes, please move that bus stop. There's still room to pull out. Currently, the way they pull into that Strauss stop, and then, you know, the ADA ramps come out in front of the bus. And so it's, you know, kind of, they can't just creep forward and come back out. They have to just jet right back out into traffic there. And so they did like the idea. And I'll have to take it to ODOT, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Great.
Okay. We have a new farmers market run that we have worked into. So the way that we've done things, and I don't know if you guys saw on Facebook that we did a birthday party for a little girl and took them all to Mining Park.
Yeah, that was great.
I will have you know that that is the most engaged post the city of Sandy has ever put on their Facebook page. Within 15 hours, it was the most, they had the most engagement of any post they've ever had. And within 30 we had a phone call saying, can you take our Eagle or our daycare,
Aw.
etc. So what we're doing to be able to do that is our dial-a-ride service, as you know, is not performing as it once did. Couple of reasons for that. One, COVID. Two, we don't have extra drivers. And so a lot of times people call and we just can't do what they need. And so I think a lot of people are starting to drop off. Or we have to pick them up earlier than they want to be picked up for their appointment. And, you know, because we just don't have the ability to that we used to have. I think that's changing. We've got 7 new drivers right now. So anyway, so what we're doing for these things such as that birthday party is scheduling them on the dial-a-ride. The driver comes back and gets the trolley if possible. It's not a guarantee, but if we can, we will. Goes and does that run and then switches it back out. So it's part of our dial-a-ride service, and that's kind of how we're also operating the Mountain Festival, as we've put it in the schedule. And the SAM rides person is, coming and getting the trolley, running that route, and then coming back and finishing whatever rides we have going on that day. So we're starting the farmer's market. They actually came to us and asked, because parking is such an issue around the farmer's market. And apparently they've had really good feedback from people with mobility issues and people who are a little bit older, and that they appreciate the ability to jump on the trolley and get a ride over there instead of having to walk, find a parking all the way up the highway and walk down to it. So hopefully we'll get some people who start learning that we have a trolley in town they can rely on if they need, and also get our ridership up. Everybody's quiet. I feel like I just talk and talk and talk and talk. Okay.
No, you're good. You got all the goods, so.
I know, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Shall I just move us right into old business?
Carry forward.
All right. Electric vehicle purchase. So remember last time I was like, I'm going to buy a Tesla. Well, Tesla went up $10,000 in the meantime. Yeah. So Muna and I both, thank you very much, Muna. We're working on a city council agenda item to ask them, hey, do you want us to go electric? Or do you want us to stick to a hybrid? And to be honest, we're still collecting data because I'm not sure that there's an electric. When the Tesla was about the same price as a hybrid, I could see purchasing it and moving forward with electric. But now it's, 7 and 62. I'm not sure it pencils out to go electric for that vehicle. I already was a little worried about the clearance on the Tesla being able to perform in the snow, but I was like, we'll make it work because it'll be electric. But going up another $10,000, I'm just not sure that I'm ready to try and make that argument to city council.
That might be a really, really hard sell.
Yeah, I think it would be. And to be honest, I mean, I know that we're trying to go electric, but this is technically not a fleet vehicle. So we don't count it as a fleet vehicle because we rarely put it in service. We do put it in service, but it's when there's bad weather or when it was COVID. And so we needed extra vehicles and we did Meals on Wheels, kind of like it's more of a service vehicle than a fleet vehicle. So, so I don't know how important it is to go from a hybrid to an electric, and especially at such a different price point. And I don't know if you guys have feelings on that one way or another.
I think what you're doing, your approach would be the right one because of the cost and you just don't know now, right now, could keep on going up.
Yeah, so I went to create the city council report several months ago, and it had gone up 10,000. And so I drug my heels. I pulled it off the city council agenda and did this whole like, I don't know. And we all had conversations here about whether we should do it or not. So then we put it back on the city council agenda with the intention of just telling them, these are the facts. Here are the vehicles we could use. And you tell me, because they are our governing body, how badly you want to go electric. We created some data and then realized, so we created data off of a government website, but then when we got into their assumptions and their calculator, some of them were from 2010 data, exactly. And so we need to do our homework to properly inform both you guys and city council what the lifetime operations difference would be, because the original, I think I probably have it. The original information that we came up with using this website was not great. It did not make the argument for us, to be honest. And so we once again pulled it off of the council meeting. That grant is for 75,000. There's no match. So it is a good opportunity to buy a more expensive vehicle if that is the way that we want to go. But the grant doesn't expire until next June. So we have a year to really figure out what we want and put together the information. So I have not gone in front of city council and said, hey, we're going to buy this Tesla. Because right now I don't think it makes sense.
So question, Andy, couple questions. You know, I know when you first brought this to us and it was the Tesla, and I, excuse me, believe, I want to say that it was the Chevy Volt that was the other vehicle that we were looking at and comparing the two. Is that correct?
It was a Ford Mustang.
Thank you.
You got it.
Right. And there, I mean, I know that the Mustang seems like it didn't have the clearance. It had more difficulty with getting in and getting out of the vehicle, more so than the Tesla. I'm just wondering, have you looked at price increases for other electric vehicles? In other words,
So,
you know,
yeah, the specification of the grant and the vehicle we need needs to at least be all-wheel drive, because we use it during inclement weather. And that currently the only two electric vehicles that are all-wheel drive is the Mustang Mach-E and the Tesla.
okay, great. Thanks for reminding me of that.
Got it. So there are obviously trucks out there like the F-150, but since we do put it in service, we really can't like have people climbing into a truck with mobility issues, right?
Yeah.
So we need to keep it lower to the ground, but you're right. So the Tesla had about 6 inches higher clearance than the Ford. And again, if we're going to have snow and use it in snow, the clearance becomes important. In my opinion, the Mustang was just too much of a sports car and not, you know, not exactly what we need it for. Although its cost was $47,000 instead of, you know, $62,000. So it obviously has a better cost, but doesn't really meet our needs.
I think it also would have been, just from an image standpoint, I mean, Tesla, if that's the route we end up deciding to go, or the, you know, that the council urges us to go for, I think it would be an even harder sell to buy a sporty Mustang than the Tesla.
Yeah, I would agree. I think both will have a perception image that we would really have to explain ourselves very well, which is
And I'm
why
talking public versus
I am
city
too.
council.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So that is to be continued, to be perfectly honest. And right now, if you asked me today, I'm leaning hybrid. But city council could tell me to go electric. I don't think so. I know my city council pretty well. And they're very reasonable people. So I don't know. Anyway, it's definitely to be continued, because I do want to go electric. And again, we do have the funding and no match. And so it is a good opportunity to buy the more expensive vehicle, especially if that vehicle can show us that the operations costs throughout its lifetime are going to be lower than the hybrid. And so if in the end it's win-win, then I would still try to go that route. But I haven't seen we haven't been able to make a good enough argument yet. And I'm not saying we won't, because we're gonna try a different calculator. I think that Oregon, probably the Oregon one, instead of.
I was thinking, yeah, that we should have looked at that one.
So, for the sake of time, I'm gonna keep going and tell you about.
Operations.
Yeah, so, our contract with MV ended in May 30th. They gave us rates for the next year during negotiations, and the county said, absolutely not. I want to go out for an RFP. Long story short, we were able to all agree to a 6-month extension at the rates they proposed. And in the meantime, I went in front of city council and explained the situation to them, and also shared with city council that I don't feel like this is an appropriate time to go out for an RFP for a contractor. They seemed to agree with me at the time. So I've gone back to the county and to MV, and I've told them both that what I want is to continue with MV. Not go out for an RFP. And if the county needs to go out for an RFP, they can do that on their own. So it seems like we're all kind of back on the same page. The county is willing to move forward with us as well and not go out for an RFP. I haven't been able to get numbers out of MV since. So my plan this week is to give MV the contract I want and issue an RFP at the same time, so that they can either sign it and I can pull the RFP back, or we're well on our way to figuring out what our next steps are. But we can't do what happened last time and continue to do this back and forth and run out of time, and we're desperate. In the meantime, our new contract, as I mentioned, did include a very good increase for our drivers in wages. And therefore, we've had 7 new drivers on board in the past 2 weeks. Probably more like 3 weeks. But
Excellent.
MV was able, knowing that we were going to sign that 6-month contract, they were able to advertise the positions at that wage. And so since that happened, we have 7 new drivers, which is very exciting. Only 2 of them have CDLs. 3 of them through training and just passed their CDL exams last week. So Mount Hood Express should be able to operate again at full service. They have had a permanently canceled village shuttle for a while now. Yeah, a couple months. And then I'm sure you guys have seen all of the cancellations we keep posting. And we ourselves have had to cancel the shopper shuttle a couple of times. Not just are we short, but people are getting sick. And so, when that happens, the shopper shuttle tends to be what we cancel for a variety of reasons. Mainly, I have instructed them, no matter what, you do not cancel SAM. That's our workhorse. That's 80% of our ridership. It needs to stay running. SAM rides, we can put dispatch onto here and there. And so the shopper shuttle just makes sense. If somebody's out there, we can send SAM rides to go get them. And sometimes we have canceled SAM rides, I think, if there's no ride.
Yeah, cancel SAM rides if it's a small enough amount.
If it's small enough, the dispatch can do the ones that are necessary, like if an 88 calls, they can run out and get it. Send the SAM driver onto another route. So hopefully those days are somewhat behind us of our short staff driving. The drivers are honestly my #1 reason that I don't want to leave MV right now and put out an RFP. I don't think that saving a couple of dollars per revenue hour is worth the anxiety of them having a new boss and, you know, possibly losing vacation and new supervisors, new company rules, they go on probation. I mean, it's a really big deal for them when we switch contractors. So if it looks like we can work it out with our current contractor, then that's always the route I want to take.
So with what we have now, Andy, we're good through what month with MV?
November. So November 30th, our 6-month extension will be up. And I'm hoping, what I've told MV is I don't want to do a year and negotiate in a year like we've done in the past. I want a 2-year contract. Again, I want that for the drivers mainly. Hi there. But I'm not going to wait around and do the negotiation game again.
Yeah. Agreed. Oh my.
So we also, and this might be a sticking point for MV, I do intend to put in the new contract that if there is a position that's not filled for 60 days, then that budget line item is not paid for after that until they fill it. Because there was about 6 months that we had no maintenance coordinator. And, you know, that's part of my rate. So I'm paying for it, even if they aren't providing it. And I don't want that to happen again. So the contract will look different than what they're used to seeing. And I should also say that the county has asked us to be their contractor, and then we deal with MV, and I'm happy doing that for them. I will charge them for it. I've told them I will charge them for it. They're aware I'm going to charge them for it. And again, they're happy to do that.
Could you talk a little bit, Andy, about ridership numbers?
So last month we were up 1%, 1.9, I think. But the good news is we were up 1.9 because Sam Gresham was up 4%. So our fixed routes are improving just ever so slightly every month. Our dial rides are not. And again, I think that's a combination of COVID and just us not having the extra. So typically we would put 2 drivers out on Sam rides during the busy times, and we can't do that. And so we can't really meet their schedules the way that they're used to us being able to meet them. And so they're, you know, finding other options. And again, I hope that we get that resolved with new drivers.
Thanks. How about Estacada? Just curiosity.
It's still pretty low, and I don't think it's improved
I think it's coming up
as
a little
much as
a
Sam.
smidge.
Gresham.
And I'm basing it off of just doing the money right now.
Mhm.
So I haven't looked at the numbers, but it seems to be growing. Yeah, I agree.
So, last time I did a chart, well, we don't really have time for me to pull it up, but I mean, we're staying pretty even with last year, to be real clear. Is we, you know, it's kind of the lines are just right there together. But again, Sam Gresham is really starting to pick up. I do know that.
Well, I can imagine with gas prices, what they're at, we're going to see more increases.
Yeah, you know, believe it or not, at one point in time, City of Sandy in 2008, when the real recession hit, we had 300,000 riders a year. 300,000 in this little town. And a lot of that was, there was a recession, gas was very expensive. A lot of people, because they didn't have jobs, enrolled in the community college. And then when we came out of the recession, the high school moved off the route. We used to have a lot of teenagers. It was free. Teenagers would just jump on, go down the hill, jump off. So we lost a lot of that. We lost a lot of like, I just got out of school and I'll jump on the bus and go down to Taco Bell. But I would expect that times economically now would be similar, and we would see a real increase in ridership. But then we also have this, new work at home phenomenon. And so I'm not sure what the transit answer is to that exactly. We might have to really examine the technology that's out there and available, maybe use a little more on demand, maybe use some more micro transit services, which is more of an on demand, smaller, make that first mile, last mile connection for people. But yeah.
Cool, thanks. And then we have that 5.3, the RFP for ITS equipment item.
Before we move on to that, just our operations manager for health reasons has left.
Yes.
And while we're looking for a replacement, Alan has graciously decided to step up and take over that role. We unfortunately couldn't convince him that he was perfect for the role, but he is willing to do it as long as necessary. So.
Yeah, so Alan is our dispatcher. He also was a dispatcher / maintenance coordinator for 6 months, and now he's also our operations manager. But he can handle it. If he would take it permanently, we would all be thrilled, but he owns a business and he's currently not willing. I'm just gonna close my eyes though and keep him in the position, right? And then, he'll just get used to it, and that's how he becomes the new operations manager, right?
Won't be able to resist being in that position.
Listen, if I imagine it, it'll happen. You just manifest it that way. It's like, Alan, ops manager, it's good to see ya. And then he'll forget that it's not really the job he wanted. That's my thoughts. Right?
We're coming up at 6:51, Andy, so you want to.
6:51, good news. We closed the RFP for ITS. We are going with a company called Passio Technologies. I'm very excited about this company. As you know, we all went into it and I added all of the Clackamas County partners in case they wanted to do it. And they were kind of like, yeah, we might not. Every single one of us is going with this company, including Canby and South Clackamas that currently don't have any tablets on their buses, but they are impressed by this company too. So that goes in front of City Council next Tuesday for their approval. And they partnered with CTS for what they call Trip Master. So we use Easy Rides by Mobilitat, which is now GMV, Synchromatics. I'm probably also going to switch our dispatch software because I'm very impressed by the abilities of the CTS Trip Master. So you can manually schedule it as a dispatcher, or you can let the system schedule rides. You can download an app and schedule your own rides. You can schedule your own ride online. You can get it set up that it calls and tells you we've left, we're on our way, we're 15 minutes out. It does so every day our dispatchers make the phone calls to remind everybody that we're coming to get them the next day. This will do that for us. There's just a lot of things that it does that we currently have dispatchers doing that I think could be a big help for our dispatchers. Obviously, we have people that, are going to want to call dispatch and schedule, and that's fine. They're still available. But, there's also people like me that would love to just go online and schedule my ride and have it send me a message saying we're 15 minutes away. And it can be integrated into the tablet fixed route system. So like Double Map is on our fixed map route right now, but not Sam Rides or Ed. That will all be available, you know, for the public to know where the bus is. Gives great data to me, to be honest, which I'm all about. I mean, just give me as much statistics as you possibly can so that we can figure out, you know, how long are you on that vehicle, and, you know, how long did it take to go from here and there, and just really great, all different reports that I can create out of it. So I'm probably going to do that. I'm definitely doing Passio, probably going to do the dispatch software. The only thing that I think city council might be alarmed about is that I budgeted $50,000 for this project. And if we were to accept everything, it would be about $155,000. However, I'm asking council to let me go into negotiations and sign the contract. I don't think it will be $155,000. I can't give them an exact amount, but I know it won't be $155,000.
Andy, could you just say, just a very general over for people who might be listening at some point down the road, just what the ITS is in that and what it includes?
Yeah, thank you. So with Passio, with what we're proposing, everything's going to be brand new. So it's brand new tablets. The tablets are different than what we had before. Thank goodness.
They're on the buses.
You're on the buses. The driver will still tell the tablet that a rider got on and what demographic that rider is. So we will collect data about our riders from and our ridership from the tablet, where they board, where they get off, on-time performance is recorded. There's canned messages in there if dispatch and drivers need to communicate. We're getting brand new LED signs on the interior again that tells, you know, has a reader board for next stop. For those who may be hearing impaired. There will be automated announcements for those who might have sight issues and need to hear. The driver doesn't have to announce it because it will be over an automated speaker. There are a lot of reports on the back end that the tablet provides as well for me. That's good for reporting to the National Transit Database that we have to do every year. There's an app for the public to know where the bus is, to be able to know when the next bus is coming, to know, I believe Passio will even tell them like the bus is full or the bus is a third full, or, you know, the bike rack is full. I think it had that option even. So anyway, lots of information for the customer. Double Map did a good job of giving us GPS location for the customer, but that's about all that it did well. So
you're not going to have to do any tallying by hand then. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, that's what you're hearing. Exactly. Paper tallies. The driver will probably thank us, I hope. So yeah, that will be on city council on the 21st, is asking them to allow us to enter into that contract. That's it.
Great.
You did it.
Right? I did it.
You did it right on the nose.
And nothing from Teresa or Christina.
No, it's really odd too, because I had a meeting at 1 and said I'm going in this afternoon for my board meeting. So I'm not sure. Oh, I do want to tell you guys something. I put into, so you guys know that there is regional coordination money on the STIF program. And it's specifically for, usually it's first and last mile shuttle, but it's for agencies that come into the QE's area, which in our case is TriMet. We did ask that in the 24-25 plan, our route to Clackamas Town Center be funded through those funds. And I believe it's gonna happen. So, yeah, so July 1st of 2023, we may be able to launch a route to Clackamas Town Center, along with our Saturday shopper shuttle. I just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
And then the county also requested funding to start a service from Estacada City Hall to Clackamas Community College. And they are requesting that SAM do that for them. So they will pay for it. We will essentially be their contractor and perform it on their behalf. So both things might be happening, all three of those things. I do believe the Clackamas Town Center will happen, hopefully.
Great work, everybody.
Yeah,
Woo.
I think so. Okay. Now,
Since we, yeah, is that a wrap for you, Andy?
that's a wrap for me.
Okay, so we don't have any, that's our neighbor updates, and no public comment with no one else in the room. And our next meeting will be September 21st, Wednesday at 5:30. And hopefully, again, in the Ops Center live and then online if someone needs to. Muna, did you have something?
I said, thank you for correcting that. We still have it as Wednesday, June 15th, so.
Good.
All right.
Okay, anything else or can we adjourn?
I think we can adjourn.
Okay. I will move that we adjourn the meeting at 7:01.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.